Today we're going to be talking about how to avoid knee pain while running. Hello everyone, my name is John and this is Motivation Theory Running. So what is runner's knee? Runner's knee is characterized by a pain at the front of the knee, near or under the kneecap, and is typically chronic in nature as opposed to an acute injury such as a fracture or sprain. Seemingly, runner's knee comes on for no clear reason, sometimes gradually and persists for weeks, months, or even longer. And because it is chronic or a non-acute pain, the area that is in pain probably is not the area that is the problem. Runner's knee is an umbrella term used to describe a misalignment in the knee caused by strain, weakness, tightness in the major muscle groups of the lower body, or natural misalignment of the joints like knock knees or wide-set hips. If these muscle groups are too weak to keep your hips and ankles in the proper place, the pain will centralize at your knees. Weak or underactive hips can cause your knees to collapse towards each other during any activity where weight is carried through the leg. If your core isn't strong enough to keep your hips steady, your knees will be forced to do the hard work of stabilizing your body. And since runner's knee is exacerbated by repetitive impact activities, it is a common overuse injury for those who stress their knees over and over again, like runners, skiers, and bikers. And that being said, runner's knee is very common and it is a very treatable injury. So let's talk about how to avoid knee pain while running. To maintain pain-free knees, the muscles from your core down to your ankles need to work in sync to support your joints. While it is a common fallacy that running is bad for your knees, running is still a repetitive motion. So many injuries stem from muscle imbalances that add up over time. Before we get into the tips, one thing to note: if you are experiencing knee pain while you sleep or notice swelling around your kneecap, you might be dealing with something that's a little more serious than runner's knee, like a meniscus, ACL, or MCL tear, or even a knee sprain. You should seek out your doctor or physical therapist for an appropriate way forward. So let's get into the tips. Number 1, get fitted for the right shoes. The foot is made up of many bones, 33 joints, 19 muscles, and 107 ligaments, and all of them taking a pounding as you run, absorbing forces of up to 2 to 3 times your body weight every single step. You need running shoes that support your natural running gait, your foot strike, your arches, and whether you pronate or supinate, to diffuse the impact of the kinetic chain. So you need to hit your local running store and ask for a gait analysis, which will tell you exactly what support you need. Also, please ditch your old running shoes. They are a big factor in knee pain. Seriously, stop running in old shoes. Stop running in shoes that are not running shoes. Your knees will thank you. Number 2, don't rush training. Once signing up for a race, many people begin to quickly ramp up their weekly mileage, which is actually one of the worst things you can do, especially if you're new to running, overweight, or prone to your knees hurting when you're running. I have talked about this in many previous videos, and this is true for the new and veteran runners alike. It takes time for the body to adapt to training, and your ligaments and tendons improve slower than your muscles since they tend to get less blood flow. So even if your muscles feel ready to take on more and more, it's important to allow enough time for the support around your joints to catch up. A good rule of thumb: do not increase your mileage more than 10% each week. Oh, and please don't forget to warm up and stretch before running or doing any other kind of athletic activity, especially if your knees are bothering you. Number 3, get out on the trails. Running on trails and hills can increase the variety of movement and build up a more balanced and even level of strength and stability through the legs and joints. It's good to try and get out on different terrain at least once a week if you can. It's not only good for the body, it's good for the mind by diversifying your running environment. You know, it can get boring running the same thing over and over and over again. Oh, and the one terrain to stay away from if your knees are bothering you and if you don't run on it very often is running on sand. It puts a huge load on your calf muscles that you may not be ready for. Believe me, my mom lives at the beach and I run on the sand, and I pay for it every single year because I do too much on it. Number 4, increase your stride rate. Studies have shown that stride rate is one of the most important factors we know of that we can easily change that reduces both acute and cumulative load on the knees. Increasing your stride rate will help propel you to a quicker pace, decreasing the force the quadriceps place on the kneecap. And just going slower does not help, as it just increases the cumulative load over the run. Increasing your stride rate and running faster can reduce the overall stress on your knees by 30% compared to your easy pace. So if you are below 160 steps per minute, you should try to increase that by 5 to 10%. And how do you determine that? Well, first you will go out onto a track or a treadmill and you will count how many times your left or right foot strikes the ground in 60 seconds. You will then double that number, and if you're above 160, you're in the clear, and if you're under it, you need to calculate what 5% of your stride rate is and try to increase that weekly. So if you have a running watch that has the cadence tracking for you, you can browse that data and easily see whether or not you're hitting the mark. Number 5. Get very friendly with stretching and strengthening your core and your lower body, especially if you are over 30 or if you are sitting most of your day. So let's briefly go over some of those stretches and exercises.